Uh, we are, of course, very glad to have Prime Minister Carney back in the United Kingdom. His first visit, if you remember, was in March, just a day or two after he had first become Prime Minister. In mid-June, Prime Minister Starmer made the return visit to Canada on his way to the G7 summit in Kananaskis, and now Prime Minister Carney is back in the UK. The rapport between the two prime ministers is clearly very strong, very positive. They know each other, of course, because of Mr. Carney's tenure as the governor of the Bank of England. So they're quite familiar with one another. They are meeting on a very regular basis in bilaterals like this one, but also on the margins of other global events that they both attend from time to time, and in quite frequent phone calls. The relationship between our two countries is very strong. In commercial terms, the trade and investment flows all added together total about $550 billion. About 10% of that is bilateral trade in goods and services. The other 90% is investment. On the trade side, for that $50 billion or so in two-way trade, it is important to note that that is 99% tariff and quota free. So it is a very good trading relationship both ways. On the investment side, UK investment in Canada, Canadian investment in the UK, it stimulates business, it generates jobs and growth and innovation. It is just a very good, solid, positive relationship. Prime Minister Carney and Prime Minister Starmer are allies and partners and friends at a time when the world is deeply divided and contentious, and a very difficult and dangerous place. They know that they need each other, both in economic terms and in defense and security terms, and they're building on historical connections between Canada and the United Kingdom that stretch over quite literally several hundred years, and that has accumulated a reservoir of trust and respect that serves them well on both sides. In their bilateral discussions today, the two prime ministers talked about a number of critical geopolitical situations around the world. Obviously, Ukraine, the Middle East, Haiti, and others, and how they can work together to maximize the beneficial impact of what they do in the world. They also discussed a partnership agenda for greater economic growth and innovation, and for enhanced defense and security. Detailed work on these matters have been ongoing by our officials over a number of months now, and both sides are anxious for this to generate some very positive, constructive results in terms of deeper and stronger defense and security arrangements, and broader and more successful economic arrangements as well. In addition to the prime ministers talking about these things, we've had lots of business people flowing back and forth, working on a number of economic opportunities, as well as representatives of provincial governments, including a number of premiers. The list of federal ministers is significant. Just this month alone, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Secretary of State for Defense Procurement, the Minister of Public Safety, and coming soon, in a week or 10 days, the Minister of Natural Resources, specifically on two very important topics: critical minerals and nuclear power. the two prime ministers have asked their officials to have progress reports available by the end of the year. So hopefully that will encourage progress right across the board. In the UK, I find there's distinct interest in two Canadian topics. One is the Prime Minister's announcement of getting to the 2% and the 5% of GDP commitments with respect to defense and security. Just last week, or 2 weeks ago now, there was the big defense security exposition here in London. A big delegation of Canadians were in town for that. But there are huge opportunities for defense procurement collaboration between Canada and the UK. So the commitment of an incremental for this year, $9.3 billion, obviously demonstrates a level of Canadian seriousness in this field that is extremely important. And the other topic that's attracting attention is Prime Minister Carney's plan to build out the Canadian economy, to speed up the regulatory process, to undertake big nation-building projects, investing in infrastructure, science, technology, innovation, removing internal trade barriers, diversifying external trade, and rising to the status of an energy superpower, both in conventional energy and in renewable power as well. That agenda presents some very real opportunities for British business partners and British investors. Beyond the events at the Progress Action Summit and the meeting with Prime Minister Carney, Prime Minister Starmer, Prime Minister Carney has had bilaterals with Australia and Iceland and Spain, and there are some further events tonight. And tomorrow, among other things, he will be having several discussions with key international investors, encouraging greater interest in Canadian investment opportunities, especially in the plan to build out the Canadian economy. And then he hopes to cheer on the Canadian women who will be competing tomorrow afternoon in the World Rugby Championship. And they deserve to win. So that's a summary of where we're at.
Can I ask you, High Commissioner, we know that Canadian officials have said some of the conversations today were about the role Canada can play vis-a-vis Gaza, a Palestinian state, a peace process, as well as the role that Canada could potentially play in Ukraine. We also know that Canada's military has a limited capacity. Yes, there's more money being invested, but that is still a work in progress. How much can Canada really offer on these fronts, given those restrictions?
Well, you have to deal with the resources and the assets that you've got, and for all countries in the world, the last couple of years have been a period when they have reconsidered their defense and security commitments and added to those commitments. Canada has done that. So has the UK. They published their strategic defense review about 6 months ago. A very interesting document that is helpful and instructive from Canada's point of view. Obviously, we are raising the commitment very significantly. $9.3 billion through the rest of this fiscal year is a very significant amount of money, and we will accelerate our contributions in tangible terms just as soon as we are physically able to do so. The other thing, sadly, that applies to the issues that you have raised in Ukraine or in the Middle East or elsewhere in the world, in Haiti, for example, is that sadly they're not going away quickly. Those will be issues that we will have to deal with for the long term. And the countries in NATO and key allies like Canada and the UK, working in collaboration with each other, can maximize the impact of what we do.
The Conservatives have been making a lot of hay and criticizing the government for all these trips the Prime Minister has been taking over the summertime, and this is one where we know there won't be a tangible deliverable at the end of it. What would you, if you're still in in your MP role, what would you be saying to constituents who are wondering why is the Prime Minister going on all these trips? Like, what's the value in meetings like this?
Well, with respect to this one in particular, pushing out that relationship, making it broader and deeper with the United Kingdom, an absolutely critical, historical ally, and one that is even more important now given the uncertainties of relationships in North America. It is extremely important that Canada and the UK be tight and close, and that the Prime Ministers work together on their economic issues, because the world economy has been upended, and on the defense and security issues. Some of those things you can do by electronic means, or pull asides at other meetings. But the most effective conversations are when you sit down in the same room together and talk to each other eyeball to eyeball. And quite frankly, today, in the conversation between the two Prime Ministers, when they were talking about the agenda that they had first laid out in the spring and then in the summer prior to Kananaskis, and assessing the progress that has been made thus far, it was extremely important for them to be talking face to face, and to from that give their respective officials instructions about how they want to see progress in certain areas made by the end of this year. Again, some of it can be done electronically, but in a relationship like this one between Canada and the UK, having those two Prime Ministers physically in the same room and talking directly to each other is an extremely important thing.
We look at this, I think, from a very Canadian lens, but can you maybe, I wonder, give us a bit of insight as to politically or domestically how beneficial this visit is for Mr. Starmer?
Well, the political domestic agenda in the UK is lively, to say the least. The election here in the UK was just over a year ago. It was in the summer of 2024. There has been a lot of domestic political turbulence over the course of the last 12 months, and it is important for Mr. Starmer to be able to demonstrate his rapport with world leaders, particularly a country like Canada. So each country has to determine their own domestic political priorities, but amid all of that domestic turbulence, the Starmer government has continued to play a critical role in global affairs, in terms, for example, of being the most articulate and forward-leaning advocate for Ukraine in Europe, and having the connection with Canada on that topic, because we have the largest Ukrainian diaspora in the world outside of Russia. That adds emphasis and impact to their work. But for us as well, having a partnership with the UK in that advocacy with and for Ukraine is an advantage to us too. So it's a two-way street. It's mutually advantageous. But amidst all of the political turbulence that Prime Minister Starmer has had to deal with, he has played a very effective role in global security issues, where that British voice has been extremely important over the course of the last year.
May I ask you, sir, it's not related to the trip, but Irish group Kneecap, a UK court has dismissed the terrorism charges facing one of the members. I wonder if you have a sense of whether or not that will impact the group's ability to come to Canada.
I do not know the technical consequences of the legal judgment. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but I'm sure the appropriate officials in Public Safety Canada will be taking a close look.
Pastor, you talked before about how free trade, 99% of goods move between Canada and the U.S. You've also heard from the Prime Minister that he wants things done at speeds never seen before. So that would make it seem as though a Canada-UK finalized free trade deal should be able to come fairly quickly. What's the holdup in not getting that finalized by now?
There are a couple of thorny topics that have bedeviled those discussions for quite a while, and they're not all on one side. They're on both sides. But I think what the negotiators will want to find the way to do is not allow the one or two issues that present difficulties, not allow that from preventing a really good discussion on the areas where it's likely to be win-win right across the board. For example, when these discussions started, digital was not a topic. It wasn't on the agenda. This discussion started pre-COVID. And the trade arrangement that is there does not deal with the digital economy. That is a brand new area that holds a lot of promise both ways for both countries and both economies. So we want to make sure that we embrace that. The freer movement of people working on projects in both countries to make sure that the scientists and the technicians and the entrepreneurs have the access to the other economy that they need to do the work that needs to be done. AI, quantum, cyber, those are areas that are not affected by the trade agreement thus far. But if the trade agreement could embrace them and underpin them, it would expand the opportunity for both of our economies. So we want to get on to those big science, technology, and innovation issues that hold the biggest potential.
Can we do last question?
What are the thorny problems that we're not being able to solve?
The ones that have been most challenging in the past, from Canada's point of view, is access to the UK market for our red meat products, for beef and pork in particular. The UK has some trade practices that effectively prevent the flow of good Canadian beef and pork into the UK market. We will want to see some progress on those issues so that our producers can have access to the British market on an equal footing with the access British producers have to the Canadian market. It's reciprocity, it's fairness and balance both ways, and we think there's a landing zone that will work successfully for both countries. But in the meantime, remember that we've got $50 billion worth of trade flowing back and forth, and it is 99% tariff and quota free. Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you.